Welcome to the Shadow Cabinet. What we do here are intellectual salvage missions. We dig up powerful ideas that, well, history tried to bury. And today, we're cracking open the archives to figure out why some of the most profound philosophies were silenced, on purpose. So why do powerful ideas just vanish from history? You have to wonder, right? Is it just bad luck, an accident of time, or is it by design? The truth is, some ideas don't just fade away. Nope. They get shoved into the shadows because they were seen as way too inconvenient, too radical, or maybe even too dangerous to remember. And that's our mission here, to drag these philosophies back out into the light. We're all about challenging the official story, you know? We look for the stuff that's been intentionally left out, the knowledge that got unfairly kicked to the curb.
So today, we're opening 3 case files straight from our archives, and each one tells a story of a powerful worldview that scared the status quo so much that the powers that be tried to completely erase it. This is the story of forbidden knowledge.
All right, first up, case file number 1. This one takes us to a pretty wild place, a world that was both mystical and scientific. We're talking about Hermetism. It was this massive, all-encompassing philosophy that basically saw the entire universe as one single connected mind, a universal mind, if you will.
As above, so below. You've probably heard that phrase, right? Well, this is the key to the whole thing. It means that whatever patterns you see out in the cosmos, they're mirrored right inside you, in the individual. So the universe wasn't some cold, distant machine. No, it was a living, breathing thing. And the kicker? Understanding yourself was the secret to understanding everything.
Okay, now this is where it gets really interesting. You see the conflict here, right? On one side, you've got this beautiful, blended Hermetic worldview. On the other, you have the new kids on the block, the scientific revolution and orthodox theology. And they needed to draw these super sharp lines in the sand. This is faith, that is reason. Hermeticism it blurred those lines. It was messy, inconvenient. It challenged their whole new world order.
So, how do you get rid of an idea that's just inconvenient? You don't always burn the books. Sometimes you just suffocate it. Step 1. You declare its big picture view is just too messy for your new, tidy world. Step 2. You censor it intellectually. Just cut it out of the official story. And finally, step 3. You just kind of push it into the shadows. Rebrand it as weird, occult, nonsense. And poof, just like that. A worldview that had literally shaped human thought for centuries wasn't just forgotten, it was eclipsed, deliberately hidden from sight.
Okay, let's open case file number 2. This one is about a group of thinkers who were so radical, so out there, they were seen as a threat to civilization itself. I'm talking about the ancient Cynics, and their philosophy? Pure anarchist logic.
Live according to nature, not convention. That was their whole deal. For the Cynics, stuff like money, status, laws, even just saying please and thank you, it was all a trap, an artificial cage. They argued that real freedom, true freedom, could only be found by tossing all that garbage out and just living a simple, honest life, in sync with who we really are.
And, I mean, you can see the problem, right? How can a society that's built on rules, social ladders, and laws possibly tolerate a philosophy that says, hey, let's just reject all of it? The Cynics were basically telling people to unplug from the system. It was such a fundamental challenge that the city-state couldn't just look the other way. Their very existence was an attack on the whole thing.
So the way they were suppressed was basically a smear campaign, a character assassination. First, you give their ideas nasty labels. You call them bestial, dog-like, antisocial. Next, you get the respectable philosophers, your Platos, your Stoics, to dunk on them, framing them as crude and not to be taken seriously. And the final nail in the coffin? You just make sure their ideas never really get a fair hearing. You just deny them oxygen.
So yeah, the Cynics weren't just abated, they were actively rejected. There was a full-on campaign to just kick their radical ethics out of mainstream thought. The goal was to make sure that history remembered them as a bunch of weirdos, not as the visionaries they might have been.
Time for our last file. This one's about a group whose knowledge was considered so potent, so powerful, it had to be kept under lock and key. This is the story of the Pythagorean sect, a group whose very secrecy became a threat to political power.
All is number. Now, to us, that sounds like something you'd see in a math textbook. But for the Pythagoreans, oh no. This was a deep, mystical truth. They believed that numbers were the sacred language of reality itself, that math was the key to unlocking the blueprints of the cosmos. This wasn't just homework, folks. This was power.
And here's the crucial part. The Pythagoreans were a secret society. This exclusive, we know the secrets of the universe knowledge gave them a ton of influence. And pretty soon they started turning that influence into actual political power. Now, you can imagine how the local governments felt about that, right? A secret group with a monopoly on cosmic truth, that's a huge threat. Okay, so this time, the suppression wasn't subtle at all. When ideas become a physical threat to power, the response gets physical too. First, the authorities identified the sect as a rival power center. Next, they literally attacked and destroyed their schools and communities. And the final step, a systematic, methodical campaign to just wipe their influence off the historical map.
So yeah, this worldview wasn't just argued against, it wasn't just pushed to the side, it was actively, physically, and violently crushed.
Okay, 3 case files, 3 philosophies that history tried to forget. Let's step back for a second and look at the big picture. What are the echoes these stories leave behind? Is there a pattern here?
And this table just lays it out perfectly, doesn't it? The punishment fits the crime, so to speak. The method of suppression always matches the kind of threat. Hermeticism blurred intellectual lines, so it got hit with intellectual censorship. Cynicism challenged social rules, so it got labeled and marginalized. And Pythagoreanism, it threatened political power, so it was met with brute force, physical destruction.
The pattern here is crystal clear. You know that old saying, history is written by the victors? Well, it's more than that. It's edited by them. Ideas that truly challenge the system, whether it's our system of knowledge, our society, or our government, they don't just fade away by accident. They are silenced, actively.
And that brings us to one last big question that just kind of hangs in the air. When you see this pattern, censorship, marginalization, outright destruction, you have to ask yourself, what powerful knowledge is getting pushed to the margins today? What inconvenient truths are being silenced right now? And what kind of salvage missions will the future need to run to find out what we tried to bury?